That's love. It's BBC Radio Oxford. A very good afternoon. This is Kat Orman. Now, my next guest is Richard Arthur, and he's the author of the new travel novel, indeed, Eye of the Sun, set in Thailand and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. Apparently, Southeast Asia is one of the most visited destinations, so how do you start planning a trip to that part of the world? Well, Richard has backpacked pretty much everywhere, and he joins me now. Good afternoon, Richard.
Good afternoon, Kat. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's lovely to meet you. Now, before we actually talk about your adventures, which I would imagine that adventure is, you have had precisely that. We were talking about the postal system and indeed ambitions a few moments ago with Kat and Co. So I just want to ask you about your experiences of the postal system, because it took 3 weeks for a postcard to reach its destination, which in fact was my mother's doormat when I sent it from Carla Santini in Mallorca 3 weeks ago. So 3 weeks for a postcard, quite a long time. It was only Spain. And Sandra Richards has commented on our Facebook page and says that when I served in the army, I was posted to Northern Ireland, and my mate sent me a letter from his room to my room, same camp. Surely the camp postie should have realised we were having a laugh, but no, it went all over the place. Back to England, in several towns, then after 6 weeks, it found its way back to Moscow Barracks in Belfast. To me, it was properly addressed, by the way, as well. And Reese Weston says that she ordered a new game online from the States, and it took 18 months to reach me as well. And we had Julie, she texted the show a little earlier, and Julie said that this was funny, actually. It took 5 years for a congratulations on your baby boy card to arrive. From a friend in Banbury to my address in Banbury, Julie says. Also in Banbury, her hubby at the time was a postman, and he kept on forgetting to post it because at the sorting office. Does that count? Absolutely, yes, it does. So her husband was a postie and forgot to post it, and it took 5 years. I think that's got to be a record, actually, 5 years for a congratulations card to get to its destination. So we've established, Richard, you've travelled.
Yeah.
You've been all over the world. You must have had quite a few experiences of posting things in different countries and back to the UK.
Yeah, I've usually been lucky with my posting, but I had a few earlier in the year when I was last in Thailand. I was posting a few books to friends, and a few of them didn't get through them, so you always wonder what happens to them.
Do they ever turn up then?
No, some of them never do.
Do you know what? It makes me wonder. I wonder where they are right now. I wonder where that book is sitting right now.
I hope somebody's making good use of it anyway.
Well, I do hope so. And we were also talking about ambition, so before we talk about you and your life and your stories, we were talking about my mother. Actually, had a conversation with her this morning, and she said that she wants to drive an Arctic lorry. Now, she's 82. And my ambition is I want to be a mermaid.
It's never too late.
No, well, I don't know whether I'll actually be able to be a mermaid, maybe. I don't know. I also have a bit of a fish phobia, so I'm not sure about that. But what are your ambitions? And surely you must have realised many of your ambitions through your travel.
Well, I've just recently written my first book, so that was definitely a big ambition of mine, so I'm pleased to have got that far. And I'd certainly like to write more books about different regions around the world, so I guess that would be the next few ambitions in the next few years.
What about an ambition to go and explore a certain country? Is there somewhere that you haven't been to which you really have ambitions to go to?
Dozens of places I'd still like to go to, such as India, all over South America, parts of the Middle East I'd like to travel around. So, you could spend your whole life travelling and still not see everything that you want to see. The world's that big.
But it is a big world, absolutely, but it's so easy to travel the world these days. You just hop on a plane and off you go.
It is easy, but then, as I was talking to your producer earlier, the more you travel, the more you realise what you don't know about the world, and the more you find out about different places you've never heard of. So the more you do travel, the more you want to travel even further sometimes.
So you have a real hunger.
Yeah, and that hunger can increase through the years, just from learning more and wanting to discover more as well.
Well, what you have done, actually, is, I suppose, share your experiences in this book that you've written, Eye of the Sun. It's set in Thailand and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. So how did you actually come to write the book? Why did you make the decision to write this sort of book?
I think I intended to write the book before I ever left. So it's based on my experiences when I first went there when I was 22. But I think I always had the desire to write a book as a teenager, and loving writing and travel and wanting to put the two together. So when I first went away when I was 22 to Southeast Asia, I was keeping a diary and keeping a log of events that I could remember. And then some years later, I eventually decided it was time to really make this into a book and started writing it up on the computer.
What were your expectations as a 22-year-old man when you got to somewhere like Southeast Asia? I mean, how did you expect it to be, and was it very different?
Yeah, I'd never been to the region before, so I didn't have too many expectations. I think I was looking more for freedom and adventure, partying and all the rest of the things that 22-year-olds are usually looking for.
So just sort of getting away from those sort of, the apron strings of
Yes.
of your parents and the family home and things like that.
Exactly.
So why did you choose Southeast Asia?
Again, I had no major expectations. I think it was hot, exotic looking, and there had about 10 countries all in close proximity that I didn't know hardly anything about. So that was kind of one of the main reasons that drew me over there. Also at the time, when I was a teenager, you remember the book The Beach by Alex Garland? That was very popular at the time, and the movie had just come out with Leonardo DiCaprio. So it was definitely the kind of place to be at that time.
So with your reasons to go for going to Southeast Asia in mind, the fact that you wanted to go out and sort of get away from home, get away from the parents, have a bit of freedom, and indeed have a bit of the party lifestyle. With that in mind, were your parents a little bit worried about what you were going to get up to abroad?
I'm sure they were. I'm sure they probably still are as well. There was a lot of partying going on, but if you're sensible and careful, you'll have a good time and you'll be okay.
So what did they say to you? Did they ever try to convince you that it wasn't a particularly great idea?
No, they were always supportive and happy for me to go. I mean, I'd just finished university at that point and come out of that unscathed, so it was time to go off on my own into the big wide world, I think, at 22.
Did your parents help you? I mean, financially, because I would imagine that, money wasn't in plentiful supply if you just finished your studies.
Yeah, I worked for about best part of a year after graduating from university and saved up and went away. I didn't have a huge budget back then, so I was living very, very cheaply, staying in very cheap accommodation. Back then it was probably like £5 a night, some of the places I was staying in.
What do you get for £5 a night?
You get a bed, a very dirty bed in a small room where the door bangs against the bed as you go in, and a fan that works if you're lucky. I lived like that for about a year or two. I'm not sure I'd want to go back to that now, though.
What an experience. Well, we'll hear about more of your experiences in just a few moments' time. My guest in the studio this afternoon is Richard Arthur. He's the author of the new travel novel Eye of the Sun, set in Thailand and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. And as we've just been hearing, he, at the age of 22, decided to travel to Southeast Asia with a hunger to party, to experience the world and for a bit of freedom. We'll hear more about Richard and his experiences after this from Chris Farlow.
You don't know what's going on. You've been away for too long. You can't come back. You think you are still mad. You're out of touch, my baby. My poor fashion baby. I said, baby, you're out of time.
That's Chris Farlow and Out of Time. It's BBC Radio Oxford. This is Kat Orman. A very good afternoon. Now, my guest in the studio is Richard Arthur. He's the author of the new travel novel Eye of the Sun. It's set in Thailand and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. And we're talking about backpacking. If perhaps you're thinking of going to Southeast Asia or indeed Thailand and you're thinking of doing the backpacking thing, I would imagine that there isn't very much that Richard doesn't know about backpacking in Southeast Asia. I mean, you just handed me the book, actually, and it's... tell me a little bit more about the book, because it seems to be just on opening a page, it's sort of like a biographical account of your experiences abroad.
Yeah, it's based on my diaries from from my first year travelling around the region. So it's mostly autobiographical, but I originally tried to write it in such a way that the reader wouldn't be sure whether it was about me or not. But I think since most readers have decided it probably is about me, so I have to come out of the closet and tell the world here and now that it is definitely about myself.
Why did you decide then that backpacking was for you? So you made your decision to go abroad, you were going to leave home, get away from the parents, you'd finished your studies, you'd worked for a bit, you'd got some money behind you. Why did you feel that backpacking was a sensible option?
I mean, at 22, I think most people have a huge hunger to get out there and live life and experience and see the world for themselves. That was certainly what fueled me. Just the desire for freedom and everything that came with it.
And you made that decision to do that having completed your studies?
I think it's something I always intended to do since I was 13 years old, perhaps. When you're a small child and you dream of getting out there into the world. So it's always been something I'd wanted to do.
So you made that decision, you told your parents, they were okay, look after yourself, we'll support you. So what did you do then? You had to buy yourself a great big backpack, I guess, but where did you go for information? Because I would imagine you have to research the places that you're going to go to, and you have to know about the cultural differences and indeed the etiquette as well abroad.
Well, back then, the guidebooks were definitely the place to go to for information. I'm talking about 10 years ago when I first went there now, so the internet wasn't quite as the behemoth that it is today. So most people are relying on guidebooks. When I went there, I kind of revelled in the fact that I had no plan. So I flew originally to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and I had a one-way ticket and no real idea of where I was going or what I wanted to do. That was that was the premise behind my book as well, just the desire just to not have any plan and learn about yourself from the decisions you make on the road.
What did you learn about yourself then?
All kinds of things.
Like what?
Well, once you've been travelling for a few months, you look back and look at what you've done in that position of freedom, and you kind of get a better idea of who you are by what you've done in the past.
Did you regret any of the decisions that you made along the way?
Certainly, you do all kinds of exciting things and good things and bad things. But yeah, obviously, the book covers the highs and lows of such a trip in quite a lot of detail, and you get yourself into some sticky situations sometimes, and obviously looking back you learn from those.
Well, come on, let's talk about those sticky situations then, since you mentioned them.
Well, Thailand especially is a mecca for young people and backpackers. There's a full moon party which is world famous. There's a lot of parties all over the beaches and cities and mountains. People getting very drunk and getting up to all kinds of mishaps. They have quite a laissez-faire attitude to safety there in a lot of these tourist areas, so people are running around on motorbikes and dancing on podiums and hanging around with people they probably wouldn't hang around with in their home countries and letting loose, basically.
You must have met some very interesting people along the way.
Yeah, you meet all kinds of characters from around the world. Thailand is it's a huge international mecca for people from all over the world these days. I think Bangkok's one of the most heavily touristed cities in the world. So you meet people from all four corners of the world. You get to meet people that are down and out on their luck and heading to oblivion, and you meet millionaires and rock stars there having the time of their lives as well.
Who have you
Everybody
met
in between.
When you say rock stars, who have you met?
I do a lot of work now in the mixed martial arts world with Dare Fight Sports, MMA organisation. So those guys are like rock stars in America, especially. A lot of the guys are there training from Muay Thai. So I'm kind of meeting a lot of people in Bangkok these days through that.
Well, has your experience been that the Thai people and the people that you've met abroad have actually been quite welcoming?
Yeah, they're beautiful people. I've spent the best part of the last 10 years there, living there, and I wouldn't do that if I didn't love the people there. They're very welcoming and hospitable to tourists and foreigners especially. I think most people who go there always come away with a very positive impression, as they do from all the other countries in the region. It's a beautiful region for most people to visit, I think. And
how do your family feel about your decision to actually live there and move your life out there?
Yeah, mixed feelings, I think. Originally they used to ask me, so when are you coming back? And then next year, so when are you coming back? But then in the last few years they've actually come to visit me on more than one occasion, and I think having been there themselves and loved it themselves, they're a bit more understanding of why I'm over there, I think.
Well, my guest in the studio this afternoon is Richard Arthur. He's the author of the new travel novel, Eye of the Sun. It's set in Thailand and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. And in fact, he has just admitted that it is really an autobiographical account of his travels as well. Which
exclusive for BBC Radio.
Well, there we are. And you will hear more from him in a few moments' time.
BBC Radio Oxford.
Travel. And how's it looking now, Bill?
Looking good, Kat, for the M40. Good clear run on the sensors. Banbury Road in Oxford, that's got some traffic lights in place for telecoms work just by South Parade. And in Farringdon, traffic lights in place on a temporary basis, but Park Road just by Marlborough Gardens. Just checking the trains for you, they're all looking okay. On the light departures pause. Travel as it happens, BBC Radio Oxford, 95.2 FM.
Call with your travel news.
03459 311 666.
BBC Radio Oxford.
Bringing you our county like you've never heard it before. Get ready for the return of BBC Radio Oxford's big tour of Oxfordshire. So far, we've met amazing people. Kat Orman on BBC Radio Oxford.
And my guest in the studio this afternoon is Richard Arthur. He's the author of the new travel novel, Eye of the Sun. It's set in Thailand and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. It's an autobiographical book. Actually, Richard, can you just explain the title? I, as in I, me, of the sun.
Yes, it's the letter I, so it's not supposed to be a pun, it's literally Eye of the Sun. Check out the website, eyeofthesun.com for more information. It's an intriguing title. If you want to know more about the meaning behind the title, you have to get through 360 pages of the book, I'm afraid. It's supposed to convey the feeling of being in a tropical environment, obviously. And the book's also very philosophical, with something we haven't talked about yet. So I look at the freedom of travelling as a means to explore the questions of free will and human consciousness. It only takes about 10% of the book, though. The rest of it's mostly a kind of travel narrative, exploring the ups and downs of these trips.
You've now settled in Thailand. I just get the feeling that, you'll never settle anywhere. You're a bit of a nomad and you'll move on. Do you feel that, or do you feel that now Thailand is your home?
I've spent the best part of the last 10 years since living in Thailand. So, yeah, to a certain extent it is my home. I spent most of my 20s there. But looking forward, I would still like to explore the world and get my writing career going forward and write books about all different regions of the world. So I have 2 more books in the pipeline, which I'll be working on next. One of them will be set in China, and the other backpacking around Europe. So these will be 2 places which I've been to before, and I'll probably be going back to again in the foreseeable future to continue writing about.
Let's go back to talk about the backpacking, because that's how it started for you. And for anybody listening to this right now thinking that they want to go backpacking, they want to see the world, and they want that freedom, rather like you were hankering after 10 years ago, where do you start? I mean, I would imagine that, it's quite a mind-blowing list of things that you need when you've made that decision to go.
Yeah, some people go with no plans and just jump on a plane, but if you're going to put safety first, as I would recommend, you should probably have your vaccinations, make sure you have comprehensive travel insurance.
How many vaccinations do you need?
Well, when I first went there, I got all of them done, but since then they've all worn off and I'm okay. So, as a first timer, you should probably put safety first and have everything done. Though, having said that, in Thailand, there's no malaria, as far as I'm aware. But on my first trip there, which is documented in the book, I did catch dengue fever.
What's that?
It's a mosquito-borne disease which can be fatal in some cases, but in my case, it put me in hospital for a couple of days with terrible flu-like symptoms. But hopefully you'll be okay. Take precautions.
What other things are you vaccinated against then?
I mean, doctors would recommend you have most vaccinations before you go there. But since then, all mine have run out since then, and I'm okay. So most people are usually okay, as long as you don't get up to any strange mishaps in exotic parts of the country. You should be fine.
You talked about the dangers and things like that. So there must be dangers in certain parts of Thailand. I mean, things certainly to avoid. So what would you recommend for somebody that's thinking about then going to Thailand? I mean, just to avoid the downfalls of travelling abroad.
Yeah, I mean, most people have a safe and fun trip, but it can be a dangerous place for especially young backpackers. Although I would say that a lot of people, especially young people, they do bring a lot of those dangers on themselves by behaving recklessly. Often, obviously, people are there, they're drinking a lot, they're partying, they're hanging around with people they wouldn't normally hang around with, and doing silly things like riding around on motorbikes drunk, and jumping off cliffs, and jumping off boats, and diving, and doing all kinds of silly things they wouldn't normally do. So I would definitely recommend, if you're going there, especially alone, be careful, remind yourself that you are quite vulnerable at times, especially as a young person, being quite naive. So just have your wits about you and make sure you hang around with people that you know and trust. If not, just keep an eye on yourself.
Well, Nikki Scott is on the phone, and Nikki runs the Southeast Asia Backpackers magazine. She lives in Southeast Asia and is on the line. But you are British, Nikki, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
yes.
good, because I don't know many foreign languages. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, good to speak to you. What does your magazine actually set out to do then, Nikki?
I started it 4 years ago, and it's a free magazine in Southeast Asia. So backpackers, when they come out here, they can pick it up in hostels and cafes and travel agents, and sort of get inspiration from the trip and hear lots of other people's stories and experiences and tips and things like that. So, yeah, basically so they don't feel alone and they've got lots of ideas and places to go.
So why did you feel that it was important for you to get this magazine started 4 years ago?
I came out here travelling. I went to Nepal first, and then I arrived in Thailand, sort of did the whole backpacking trail through Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and then I didn't want to go back to England, and I was like, I think it'd be a really good idea. There's like just something to some sort of magazine to bring everyone's ideas together and everyone's stories, and then I had the idea for the magazine and sort of started it up, and I've been here since then, so.
Nikki, I asked this to Richard earlier about his parents' response when he said that he wanted to go and backpack in Southeast Asia. I mean, what was your parents' response for you wanting to travel in Southeast Asia, and then indeed, very much like Richard, deciding to stay there?
I think my parents always knew that I would travel. From a young age, sort of, they encouraged travel. I mean, just around Europe, and then when I was around about 18, I did a Europe interrailing trip. And that sort of inspired me to travel more. And then once I'd done that, and I went off to Southeast Asia when I'd done about 2 years working, and then I left for England at 23. I think my mum and dad knew, I don't know whether she's coming back or not. I mean, they've both been out here to visit me, kind of thing. But yeah, I think they've always encouraged me, just like Richard said. It's very, very encouraging, all of them. Yeah.
Now, I'm a mother, and I've got an 18, nearly 19-year-old son, and he said to me, I'm going to ask you both this question, but he said to me, I want to travel, I want to go and see the world, and that really, really frightens me. So, Richard and Nikki, what would you both say to parents who may be going through a similar thing where their children have said, I want to go, I want to travel, and I want to do it for a year? What would you say to the parents, just to sort of put their minds at rest? I'll start with Richard.
Okay, just talk to your kids about what their plans are and where they expect to go. I mean, these days it's so much easier to stay in touch as well with the internet and Skype especially. When I first went out there, we didn't have these things. It was just sending long emails to each other and the occasional phone call. So, just make sure you know where your kids are and what they're up to.
So, Nikki, communication, like Richard said, has become so much easier. So, parents can regularly be in contact with their children. So, is that how you would perhaps put parents' minds at rest?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to my mum. I talk to my mum on Skype every single day. She's probably listening now. But I keep in contact with them all the time. But I think Southeast Asia especially, it's a very safe region. Thailand is incredibly safe. You can be, I'm in Bangkok now, and I wouldn't feel scared wandering the streets at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd be, you'd probably get a local who'd go, oh, come back to mine, have some dinner. Like, it's so friendly and so safe. It's one of the safest places. You can leave your keys in your motorbike in Chiang Mai, where I live. It's very safe. So I wouldn't be worried too much about that. It's just them knowing their limits is sort of partying and things like that. But that can happen. That's anywhere. That's in Manchester or London or anywhere in England as well. Just having your wits about you, just like anywhere. But it's a good place to start Southeast Asia for safety, for sure.
I suppose you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, anywhere in the world. But Nikki, you hear horror stories, indeed, as we have quite recently, about drugs being planted on people. I mean, do you think is that just sort of scaremongering, or is there a real danger of that happening to vulnerable people travelling in the world?
I don't think so. I think you'd have to be... as long as you've got your wits about you and you're aware of what's going on and you're not getting drunk and losing control that way, I think you're totally fine. I mean, my mum worries about me being here because I'm so far away from her, but not anything like that at all. It's very... Southeast Asia's not like that at all in terms of... the people are very trusting and friendly. It's not as scary as people think. I know the media like to make things like, oh, there's this happened in Thailand and there's this, but it happens all over the world, so...
Nikki, will you ever come back?
Well, I'm coming back in next month to visit home, and then I'm starting a new adventure. I'm going backpacking in South America in January. We're starting a new magazine over there. So I'll be heading out to a brand new continent. I'm a little bit nervous about that because I know the language a little bit in Thailand, and I know the food, and I've got but I'm going to be a beginner traveller again in South America, so I'll have all those nerves back. But yeah, I don't know about coming back to normal life, as they say in England. I'm not sure. I've definitely got the travel bug, I think.
But what about one day? When you want to start a family? Is that something that in years to come is on the cards? Or will you never be pinned down?
At the moment. I've got a few more years before I think about that. But no, I'd like to. I'm not sure where it'll be in the world. Wonderful. I'll take my babies on the road as well.
Well, life's definitely an adventure for you, Nikki. It's been great to speak to you, and good luck with your adventures.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Nikki Scott, who runs the Southeast Asia Backpackers magazine and lives in Southeast Asia. But of course, she's very much British. I'm glad she was, because I certainly don't speak Thai. I guess you do, Richard.
Sawasdee Krap. Hello in Thailand.
Wow. And
impressive stuff.
Well, we've got to say goodbye now. So what's goodbye in Thai?
They don't say goodbye. They say hello to say hello and goodbye.
Really?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, it's been great to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your stories, and also good luck with the book. So for anybody that wants to read about your experiences, and I've just flicked actually through some of the pages, and my oh my, you certainly have had quite a few experiences actually in Thailand.
It's all there. Years worth of stories in there.
How do people get hold of the book, Richard?
They can find it in bookstores. If they can't find it on the shelves, then they can ask behind the counter and they'll order it for you. Or you can get it on Amazon in paperback or in ebook format. If you can't find it, check out the website www.eyeofthesun.com by Richard Arthur, and there'll be lots of information there you can find. Or you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook and all that. Eye of the Sun, same name.
So many ways.
So many ways.
Thank you so much, Richard, for coming in.
Pleasure to be here.